P-Boys, number one.
Recording in
Kind of
progress.
the number one Western County podcast. No big deal.
Welcome to another episode of the P-Boys. We've got Rob Feld on the podcast today. Welcome to the pod, Rob.
Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right. You might recognize Rob from his world-famous documentary, Jesters and Fools. So thank you for joining.
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
So I discovered Rob because I went to the what is it called? The Freedom Museum in Philly, and they were doing a showing of his documentary, Jesters and Fools.
Oh, the National Liberty Museum. Yeah.
National Liberty Museum. That's it.
Yeah.
It was a fun museum. It was one of the better museums I've went to. They had some fun interactive little, what is it called? Things. Exhibits. Yeah.
It's a difficult word.
Like the rapper?
Technical. That's technical.
Yeah. And then I saw posters of comedians, and I was like, "Hey, I know those comedians." And then I watched the movie, and then I got in touch with Rob. So, Rob, thanks for agreeing to do this podcast with us.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you caught it there. It's a great little museum that is kind of a little bit under the radar, but people stumble into it and then say, "Oh God, I love this place." No, it's a great thing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Cool. Maybe I'll have to schedule a visit sometime.
Yeah, we'll add it to the tour.
So,
No, it actually does sound cool.
Yeah, let's get into it. What inspired creating this documentary that you made?
Well, I mean, look, it's a doc about speech and how we misperceive each other, how we think we have all these tremendous divisions and reasons to hate each other in this country, and which I think we don't. But it was inspired by that moment in 2020, 2021 when we're all locked in during COVID, and all you can see, you're not out interacting with real people so very much.
Sure.
You're seeing what looks like the country lit on fire online and through media, and you're having your rare interactions with neighbors. They all seem to be going a little bit crazy and kind of looking to jump on people and just exuding hate. And my wife and I, we got 2 kids. We're in the apartment in New York, and just thinking, this isn't how we grew up. We grew up in New York. It was definitely a different city then.
Sure.
And a different set of people in a way, and a different way of living, I think, around the country, where, you disagree with people. Or I remember in high school, we'd kind of sit by the lockers and, we'd argue, we'd yell at each other, call each other commies and fascists, and then go play handball and get pizza, right? It wasn't, I hate you, you're a terrible, evil person for, thinking about something differently. So, look, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a journalist, and I think about what's the story. Immediately, I just get obsessed with the story and started looking, what's a story, what's a visual story, because that's what film is. And what's a way to tell it in a way that anyone's going to give a damn about that isn't just science, and there's a lot of social science in it, right? But
Certainly.
how do you wrap social science into something that's that communicates and people choose to watch? And that, to me, it's humor, it's comedy.
Sure.
And comedians are great, so they're natural social scientists themselves in a way, right? They're great observers. So I figured they would, their intuitive reactions to what was happening around us would reflect the science, what the social science was saying about how we are not as divided as we think we are. And I was right. I try not to be right.
Yeah.
They're great interviews.
So were you already in touch with the community? Like, no?
No. I mean, my world was film and filmmakers, but I didn't know comedians. And so what I had to do was, if you know anything about this world, agents, managers, publicists, they exist to say no. Right? Yeah. They do not want, right? If Paramount Pictures calls with a big deal, then hey, they're totally receptive, right? But they are not there to help make a small documentary. And so I knew that was a non-starter to start reaching out to publicists and agents. So living in New York, the Comedy Cellar is one of the great homes of comedy. It's in Greenwich Village. It's where so many people started out. And some McDougal Street. And so I reached out to the owner, Noam Dorman, who's a fantastic guy and just a known character in the city. I didn't know him. And said, hey, look, here's this project I want to do. This is a subject I care about, and I need comedians, and you have all the comedians. Can you help? And so he invited me to chat, and he's like, look, this is great. I think it's a great idea. But I can't like throw you at Chris Rock. When Chris shows up at the Cellar, it's like someone's going to ask him, can I park your car? Can I get you a drink? Like, that's it. No one's hounding him for anything. So what I can do, though, is get you a seat at the table, right at the bar. All the comedians, they hang out. It's like a salon of journalists over here and comedians over here. It's this great New York scene. But, look, I'll get you a seat, and you'll slowly become recognizable to people if you just come hang out and slowly chat, and don't be an asshole, keep respectful. But as you're talking to people, you can tell them what you're up to and, see what happens. And so it's what I did. The first night they reopened after COVID shut down, I was there, and I started coming like 4 or 5 nights a week. I put my kids to bed and then head over to the Cellar and just hang out at the bar and nurse a beer and slowly start getting to know people, and people are asking me, what the hell you're not a comedian, what the hell are you doing here? You shouldn't be at this table.
Right.
What's up? And I'd say, hey, look, I bet you travel from New York to LA and hit every little club in between, and you don't see the same country in reality as we're seeing online. And they're like, yeah, no, most people are just people. They're just trying to get through the day. They're not looking to, jump on you. There's always someone in the audience who's looking like this, or just wants you to say something they agree with. But no, most people are, not like that. So I was like, great, I'm doing this movie about it. Would you do an interview? And so over the course of many, many, many months, just kind of sitting there like Jane Goodall, like, making
observing the monkeys. There you go.
What's that?
I said observing the monkeys.
Observing the monkeys and not disturbing the monkeys. You don't want to get in the way and overstay your welcome. I got a lot of people to say, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. And then, I got a grant to fund the start shooting anyway, and I set some shoot dates, and whoever was in town, came by. And it's like herding cats because, they're all over the place. So a lot of people said yes. I couldn't schedule, which is a shame. But, I ended up with a great group.
Yeah, no, it was a great cast of comedians. When you first started going, I think there's this like attitude of a lot of bigger comedians of like not liking journalism, or like don't let the journalists in because they're gonna write negative reviews about us. Were you getting any of that?
No, I mean look, in that I was passed in for one because Noam gave me the tap on the head, right, and so I'm allowed to be there.
He's cool.
I don't write reviews. They don't allow cell phones downstairs. I mean, I carried mine, but they don't allow cell phones down into the club because people are there testing with their own material, so you can't record anything and then post it. It's all people are trying out jokes and whatever.
Sure.
But no, I mean having that permission and being inside was key. I mean, as I was sitting there at the table with them, I'd see someone would come up and kind of stammer, hey, I've got a podcast, would you, do an interview? And they'd be like, no.
Sure.
Right? And they go, okay, and they sulk away, but
that's us.
me coming on the inside, and then, we get to the point where I got to know Colin Quinn, and Colin's like the mayor, right, of the Cellar. And so I'd be having dinner with Colin, and then, jumping into the booth would be John Mulaney and Chris Rock, and, everyone's just talking, and I'm there like, Jesus, this is okay. And Rock is like stealing my French fries and not looking at me, but like,
There you go. If anybody's going to steal your French fries, better off
because I was passed in, I was safe, and that was the only way to do that.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. Who are some of the other people you're trying to get in the movie that couldn't schedule time with?
I mean, a lot of it, I guess I don't want to say.
Okay,
I shot Lewis Black, but his material didn't fit into this iteration of it.
Is he yelling too much?
There are a lot of other guys and names that like they're big podcast people. I don't want to say, but
yeah, that's fair.
Keep their
their podcasts are as big as it gets now, or they're just
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. We are in a really interesting time where, again, in America, it's so many different, like, people with, like, different ethnic backgrounds, and now the division is, like, political views, and that's kind of what you touched on in the beginning, and it's like, people don't know how to disagree anymore. It's, you are your opinions, and for some people that's like a death sentence. And it's hard to know, like, where do we go from here, right? Like, where does that eventually lead us? How do we get out of this very divided trap that we're all in?
I know. I mean, the saving grace of so much of it is that we are misperceiving what's actually real because we live online. We experience so much of each other and our world through these fucking screens.
Yes.
And media, and it's we always have to remember this is a frame. The screen is a frame, and it captures what someone or something or some algorithm, right, is funneling into it, and you miss everything else that's happening around it, right? Any photograph is a photograph of whatever, someone jumping over a puddle, but you've missed everything that's happening around there. So everything's composed for us, and it's become very, very hard to distinguish a reality of what's happening in the broader world and what's happening with the people right next door to you and how they actually are versus a vision that has been created for us through media of what we now assume those people are, right? And we've had, unfortunately, our political, for many of us, not all of us, most Americans, frankly, they're not political people. They're really not. They don't give a shit. They're really just trying to get through their days, raise their kids, put food on the table, pay health care. The political beliefs are not what, or social, it's not what drives them.
Right.
But there's a certain percentage, about, we say 13%, there's these really extreme personalities, which dominate our media, and they live in our brains, and they have come to create the perception and represent everybody else, and it's just not true. And so it's so important to just touch earth, touch grass, touch someone next to you, and realize, oh, that person, maybe I even disagree with them, but they are, touch the dude, poke him. He's not willing, he's not ready to, jump on you and kill you because you disagree with him. Maybe he is. He looks like he might be.
Depending on the scenario.
That's the hockey jersey.
The important
He's
thing
always
is
ready for a
that
fight.
our identities should not be our political tribes.
Sure.
We have other identities, be it family, be it where we're from.
Yeah.
Faith has, there's a lot less religion in the country now. I'm not advocating for or against, just simply these are identities that we had prior to this moment that were much more in the forefront. And now it tends to be, for many anyway, I have this political belief, and this is my tribe, and anyone outside that tribe is a danger to me. I'm scared of them. And because of what we see in the media, we assume those people are much more extreme than they actually are.
Yeah.
And so we think, hey, they hate me. And if they hate me, I'm now scared of them. I've got to hate them back. And it becomes this escalating, really unfortunate misperception.
Forcing type of dynamic where they kind of
Really
energize each other.
And for all of us, right?
Yeah.
The stress of it is horrible. Who wants to live like this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's very interesting, to see that comedians specifically are playing this like role in society. Really starting with COVID, that like, first of all, the number of people trying comedy now has exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like everybody, whether or not you're trying comedy, people are getting into comedy,
It's
and
the last line
everybody's
of
got
defense.
their comedian, their podcast that they're listening to, and I see a lot of people are something I see very common, like, oh, why are all these comedians talking about this, right? And now, like, I don't know, I guess we're just the ones with the platforms. We're the ones willing to go out there and just talk about it and say the things that other people aren't willing to say. And the other thing that I'm thinking about, what you're bringing up, how we all live on our screens now. So I do think that there needs to be some sort of an emphasis, not like a collective, like this is what we need to do, but like for these in-person events to like really, like we got to get together and interact with people, and that's exactly what a comedy show is. It's, let's physically get in a room together rather than all watch this comedian on YouTube, and still be human beings, all having a real interaction.
Totally. I mean, what Nathan McIntosh, one of the comedians in the film, brings up. He's like, you can be in a club and all these people can just be right next to each other. This one, whatever, drinking the beer, this one drinking the margarita, whatever he said, and they can totally interact. But then you get online and those same people are hating on each other. It's like, and so the social scientist from Duke University, he studies polarization online. He's the one who's in the film. He studies what those environments, what social media environments tweak in us, be it tribalism or status seeking, and how the incentives for interaction are completely changed. Our natural, we are designed as humans to take social feedback, right? If I walk into a room and I'm an asshole, most people, you get negative feedback for that behavior, and most people, certainly as their children, start to moderate their behavior, and as they grow up, they learn not to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Not everyone, most people, I think. But clearly, but online, those incentives don't exist. You don't get that kind of feedback. What you get is incentivized to say something increasingly extreme, increasingly radical. You get likes and shares.
Yeah.
So it's the exact opposite of what you should be getting. So you become a different person, or at least you reflect a different person when you are in that environment.
Yeah.
We're pretty malleable personalities, right? But to your point about the comedians and comedians having the platforms, sitting with them, they'll all say, like Colin and everybody, they'll be like, when we were starting, they were like, whatever, like 50 comics, like that's what there was running around. He's like, now there are hundreds, and some of it is great. You can have your own platform and you can develop a following and an audience. Totally fantastic. And why comedians? Because and their opinions, their reflections, that is their art. Their reflections of the world, right? I don't think actors should be pontificating publicly on whatever society. That's not their job, right? Their job is you are given lines and you read them, and maybe your performance reflects something through the work of the director and the writer and all that stuff.
And they make millions of dollars.
Like comedians, they are supposed to stand up there, and as Colin says, in the movie, find the underlying anger or angst of society.
Yeah.
And frame it in a way that, if you're successful, cracks open, identifies a truth. Not the truth. Like, I don't think comics are not, philosopher kings.
Yeah.
They can be totally wrong, but, they reflect, if you get the laugh, it's because probably you reflected a truth. And two things can be true at the same time. We have a very hard time understanding that now, right? That two things, contradictory truths are absolutely possible, and we have to hold space for that. But comedy helps mediate that,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
It takes something that maybe is a danger or an idea that I could find dangerous or confusing or something, and couches it in a laugh in a way that lets me ruminate on it and think about it and consider it without it being an attack, hopefully, on my sense of self, my identity,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the important thing for all of us is, I think, to be non-threatening to each other outside of comedy, just in our lives, right? Because that fear of each other is what then increases that opposite reaction. And we see it, we see it in our daily life, and unfortunately we see it in our politics.
Absolutely. That's if you think about it, that's what politics is really built on, is playing on people's fears. And in so many ways, I think our system is designed to exacerbate those fears. Like, that's sort of what
more people vote against the person that is than they vote for their candidate.
You guys have because I've been seeing, like, depending on the media I engage with, two different sides of, like, New York right now. Everyone, like, people who are saying, like, oh, it's horrible, it's all, like, just a bunch of, like, Muslim socialists running around. But then the other side is like, oh, like, it's the best it's ever been. But probably it's somewhere in the middle, and it's just like,
it's just New York.
It's just the same. Have you experienced that?
You got to remember a few things. First of all, while it was a big voter turnout, relatively speaking, it's still, I forget what the final numbers were, but it's a city of 8 million people, and nothing close to that voted.
Yeah.
Right? And then you also have to look at how the primaries work, nationally, not just in New York. But, like, nobody votes in the primaries.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody votes in the primaries, which is terrible, because then you end up with the base of each party, the most extreme personalities, selecting the candidates, at which point, you're not good. That's what you're stuck with for the nationals, or for the real competition, the real contest. And each side isn't going to go, well, I got a crazy guy, but so do they. I'm not going to vote for their crazy guy. I'm going to have to vote for my crazy guy. And so you end up with a bunch of extremists. Mm-hmm. So, what is the city really? I don't know yet. It's really hard to say. I know that, this is not a character who many of us would have wanted to see.
Uh-huh.
But we were left with really poor mayoral candidates across the board. Like, there was no one who was a serious person, right? There was no Michael Bloomberg running. There was no, even Giuliani in his day before he went fucking crazy, was a serious person. We had nobody in the selection. And and why? Well, there are all kinds of reasons for that.
Yeah, I think that's the real
yeah, I don't
question.
know what happens to New York. I think the last mayor before Adams, Bill de Blasio, was really detrimental. He had 2 terms, and so plenty of time to do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And this, I don't know. I hope it's not a continuation of that, but I suspect it is.
Okay. Interesting. This is a good insight into the
we're
other parts of the
Landscape
country.
New York.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys even know the name of the Detroit mayor?
Yeah.
Because I'll admit I don't.
Sheffield.
Sheffield?
Yeah.
Gary Sheffield?
No.
Yankees legend?
No, she's a woman. Fuck, I can't remember her name. I can't remember. But it's interesting having Colin Quinn, and because I think he was kind of what you were saying about him. That's kind of been his whole career, has been like finding ways to fuse like politics in with like comedy and with like the general kind of attitude of people in the country. I think he's I don't know.
Yeah,
Colin's great.
Yeah.
I mean, his old, they're on Netflix, a lot of them. Red State, Blue State is a great show he did. One is called, I think, just called New York, I forget. But no, I mean, his stuff is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I love watching him. I've watched him for years now, just go up and ramble and try and find the joke. Mm-hmm. And they get up there, all of them. They get up there and they've got notes and they try it. And, it doesn't work, and they change the wording a little bit. It doesn't work, and change it again. Bounce it off someone upstairs, go back down.
Yeah.
It hits. It's a great process.
For sure.
And it's a real democratic process. Like, you can't. The audience doesn't lie. Like, it either finds.
Yeah,
funny or
exactly.
They've gotta confirm or at least resonate with whatever it is you're saying, and that's how you've touched on something that people can relate to.
Yeah, that's something that I think gives comedians like this political, philosophical advantage, I guess. It's like literally their whole thing is just trying to, win over a room. So you learn how to read people and like what they like and stuff.
They're so brave, I mean, they're crazy, right? But I mean, it's a kamikaze mission. But they get up there and make themselves totally vulnerable to the point where they don't care anymore. Like, some find it hysterical when they bomb, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is astounding to me. But they get up there and they will all say, the audience doesn't lie. Right?
Yeah.
You can't say, no, that's funny when nobody laughs ever. You can have a room that it doesn't hit with and then it hits in other places, but if just nobody ever laughs, it's really hard to say, no, that's funny.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because you gotta, attack it from a different angle, right? It's interesting how you can say the same thing in different ways, and sometimes it doesn't land, but you really gotta like find the back door to get the point across in a way that doesn't turn people off, which is something that I probably mess up very often. I just kind of like ram it down the audience throats too often, and maybe if I was a little more gentle sometimes it could land, but I don't know.
See, he just always has that tone, so people are always just like, he's talking down on me.
Taking a word and just putting it here, swapping the word
Yeah,
around.
literally the
Sometimes
smallest things can
verbal
completely.
idea is, where it's at, but you got to change completely I love watching it.
Yeah, we did for a video. We wrote each other like really bad, just horrible jokes, and then we went up on stage and like perform. We had to perform each other's jokes, and then he thinks that he figured out the key to like winning over a room after we did that. So
What is it?
You're gonna give out your secrets?
I'm playing more and more with. You just need to be even that much more like forceful in your delivery, right?
just say fuck you. You're gonna laugh now.
Yeah, there is.
It's not even like fuck. Just like say it real loud and energetic.
There is something to comedic cadence.
And because I took this set and it's like nothing about the logic of the words, but like find different places to really pop the delivery. And it ended up getting some people to laugh.
Interesting.
And then they left.
Something I've been playing with.
I mean, look, there's no way, from what I can tell, there's no way to teach that. You just have to get up there and try it. And,
yeah,
I don't care who, the most experienced guys who I see, all they can do is get up there and try the joke.
Yeah.
And they just don't know if it's going to work or not until it hits the road.
Yeah, the best comics like still have jokes that don't work. Like even if they have an audience of people that love them, like still there'll be people that are like, okay, I understand that you did a joke, but like it won't kill them,
It's true.
Yeah.
Audience doesn't lie.
What are some other stories you're tackling, or can you not say, or
Any
don't?
projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, I mean, the next thing I'm trying to put together, look, I'm all in on, I'm obsessed with this same thematic ideas
Yeah.
of, just because I feel the pain of the country, like, that we have much more in common than, we have difference, and that this level of animosity is stupid. And not just, it's destructive. Like, I don't want to live like
Yeah.
that. You can't run a country. We will lose it.
Yeah, it's like
We will
concerning.
lose this republic if we continue in this way. And some of that is breaking the stranglehold that media has on our attention and our perceptions. And how do you do that other than getting people to pay attention to other things, really just the people around them? So this next thing I want to do will use, if I'm lucky, we'll use singer-songwriters, musicians instead of comics. Not
Hey, I'm one of
them
those.
speaking on the stuff, but having them different singer-songwriters from different areas of the country,
Yeah.
representing their world through their music and through where they grew up, in a way that helps us relate to them. Like, I think we have all kinds of perceptions, obviously, about people in regions of the country that we don't really know, that we don't go to.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we, I think, have to break down or find ways to let people in. I think during COVID, we saw so much of that. We saw people in urban environments, casting all kinds of ugly shade on people in rural environments who were in a different situation and treating the pandemic differently, and vice versa. And so much hate came out of that. It's like, you know nothing about how each other lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, give a little grace and open your ears and stop at least, hating and be open and hopeful for each other. So
Yeah.
anyway, the next one, it's going to be harder because it's not like, I can't, there's no comedy cellar for rock stars for me to go and hang out and meet. So it's a whole other process of, getting the music industry, people helping me out and getting to people. So it's going to be an uphill battle.
I have a handful of connections to like Detroit musicians. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I know a bunch of like Detroit musicians. I could probably hook you up with like someone. I don't, maybe not like the most famous people, but I was in the music scene for a while.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
It's
Comedy's
funny with
a lot
these things,
easier.
Like it's a lot of even talking to one person, and then that person sends you the next person, sends you
Yeah.
the next person.
Yeah.
Obviously I need known people, right?
Sure.
But any, music scene, and certainly in Detroit, is a huge, great music scene.
Right.
Happy to talk to you about it. Appreciate it.
Now let me ask you this. So when we're talking about like the division and people kind of identifying with their politics in a way that they didn't in the past, to what extent do you think has that been an organic process, or is that manufactured somehow?
Strategically divided.
That is a massive question. And,
Yeah.
you could talk about, look, it's all about meaning, right? right? And we all need meaning. We all need a reason to be on this planet, to live, and how do we find it? And there's been, for over a century, this kind of crisis of meaning, certainly in the West, of post-industrialization, and Nietzsche saying God is dead, and that being an idea of God was central to, or a sense of God was central to our day-to-day, moment-to-moment existence. And once we put a man on the moon, that changes. How do we position ourselves in the world, and what is our place in it?
Allegedly.
And now add in AI and all this shit, what the fuck are we?
Yeah.
And why are we? And and we are back to the fear, we are vulnerable human beings. We all know we're going to die. We spend our days, trying to ignore that fact, but that is the ongoing noise in everybody's head.
Yeah.
A woolly mammoth can come and trample you, and a saber-toothed tiger can get you, or you get hit by a bus,
Mm-hmm.
So, how does all this happen? As we're looking for who we are and why, and we find tribes, we find some kind of sense of community and a political identity that may be more forceful and more present in our daily lives through, social media than, as we're all working from home or, just busy lives. We're much less in touch with our communities. And there's this great, what's the book called? Bowling. I'm totally blocking it. But, and with a great writer. But the idea is that, the Kiwanis clubs, or the Elks and the Moose and the bowling leagues that so many people used to be part of, we don't join clubs. We're not joiners anymore. We don't have those things to join, or your churches or synagogues or mosques or whatever.
We still have them.
We
They're
are
just
much less,
online.
Parts of communities and experience that. Instead, we're experiencing it online. And so if we find this political identity that, because we see those people over there, they're really scary to me because I see all of their ideas. Well, I better hunker down with my people over here, even if it's in a virtual way online, and signal very loudly, hey, I stand for this. That gives us meaning, even if it's a pretty shallow one, I think. And a much deeper one would be, a connection with our neighbors, whether they are, meant to be your best friends or not. They are part of your community, and they're human beings, and you can find their humanity and see your own in them much more easily and more richly than you could in some vision of people online that just scares you. If that answers,
It's a very difficult question.
Well, I think that it's an evolution.
Yeah.
It's an evolution, an unfortunate one, and technology leads so much of our experience for centuries. Over the course of centuries, radio changed it, and the wheel changed it, and fire changed it, and this is digital media and how it impacts our lives is an incredibly defining experience in technology that is not really human. I mean, it's not human, right? We don't relate to it. It doesn't give us an environment that lets us be what we naturally are.
It's
what
very
our tendencies
unnatural.
Are, how we recognize each other through facial expression or the subtle things that aren't just typed words. We can relate, in a completely different way, and digital environments do not allow for that. So we are not equipped to function in a healthy way because it is contrary to who we are through digital media. So manufactured, or it's that we are fish out of water.
Sure.
Yeah. We have about a minute left on the Zoom. If you hit the same link, it'll reopen. Unless you got stuff to do, it's up to you.
No, I got a few.
Okay. All right. Let me end this one, and then we'll rejoin.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh yeah. What I was just saying, in between the sessions, I was talking about how I did a quick dive into you before we started recording, and you literally represent my beliefs very strongly, and I don't know. I just appreciate you being a voice. Yeah, I'm just
trying, man. It's
all about
shot
moderation.
Shot into the canyon, but
Yeah, I'm one of those people that like I will be in like Instagram comment sections and shit, but I don't know. I kind of view myself as like a mediator where I'll like see two people and it's just like, oh my god, how do I get them to see each other's sides? And I don't know. I'm kind of okay at it, but it is a lot of time it's like pointless.
Well, most of the time, people don't want to see.
Exactly.
themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
well, right. And so there's a point that some of the comics make, and that then Chris Bale from Duke, makes. Look, it's Rosebud. I don't think I used this clip. I didn't, but she talks about Rosebud Baker, who's James Baker's granddaughter, Secretary of State, but as it turns out, from Texas. But she told me, she's like, you'll go to a club now, and you'll see people who just want you to say something that they can agree with. They're not there to laugh. She's like, I'm just here to make you laugh. Like, I don't care. But they're just sitting there because they just want you to say something. They can agree with you and go, yeah, that's, I agree. And you're right. There's nothing you can do with those people. They are, and so they are extreme in their mentality. And again, Rosebud and others, I think, make the same point, which is that, and Jim Norton, there's other stuff going on with them. It's not about the thing. It's not about whatever you're talking about.
Right.
It's about their own shit. And Rosebud's like, they're just trying to dump their shit on you.
Uh huh. And it's almost the thing becomes the vehicle for their shit.
Bale's work, Duke, is, and this book he wrote, for him it's, look, you've got these extremists on either side, and they've got their own shit going on, and you can't crack that. But what we can do as everyone else who are more moderate, temperate personalities, and hopefully, viewpoints as well, is not disappear from conversation. And what happens online is the crazy and their dumpster fires take over and dominate. And everyone's like, I'm not getting to the shit with you. Like, you're gonna end up sending death threats to me, and I got a life, and I'm not getting off with this, right? And so all you end up with is this view of the world. And then it goes into reality too, and more sensible people, just because they're scared, be it at a university in their class or in your workplace, they're just scared to say something that's, mediating or, and moderating.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, because who the fuck wants to do that? But then we're left with nothing but crazy. So what Bale wants to do, what I hope the movie does, is show people, hey, you're not alone. In fact, you're the majority. And so don't disappear. Say something that you don't have to get into a fight with anybody.
Right.
But, you can create a little friction. Don't just let the crazy comment go by.
Yeah.
Create a little friction, and maybe they'll get a hint, but others around will see, oh, I'm not the only one. I can also, be a normal person.
Right. If you affect one person, you never know, like, butterfly effect, how many other people that could affect,
Sorry, say it again?
If you change one person's, like, minds or, like, open their eyes, you don't know, like, how many people that could affect, like, through the butterfly effect,
Well, that's it. The butterfly effect of this, you hope is, it will be impactful.
Yeah, definitely.
It's gotta start somewhere.
That's my justification. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm
you're right.
typing a fucking essay, and it's just like, hopefully this means something to someone,
If you hit one person, right, and so hopefully all over the country, you've got, millions of people doing tiny little things. Right?
Yeah.
I can make this little movie, and I impact, I hope, a couple of people.
Sure.
And someone else does something else, whatever they're good at, and you do a comedy, you do comedy or whatever. And bit by bit, you try and fight back this tidal wave of what is really misinformation about each other and ourselves.
Yeah. To them, it's not misinformation, but that's because they were misinformed.
Yeah. I mean, it's a completely, it is an incorrect view of what people are.
Yeah.
What people are like.
So you had brought up AI earlier. Are journalists using AI?
Sure. Sure. I don't have the deepest view into
Yeah.
it. I mean, but there are entities that are trying to use AI to write a sports column, and maybe they are by now. They find it, because it can. Good journalists who are using it, use it for research. Might use it to, do a grammar check or something like that. But then you don't hand your work over to the AI, right? It should be like anything, a tool. And then you go and check it, dig deeper, whatnot. I'm sure there are people who, are being super lazy and using it for things, but it's going to be really not compelling writing and sound pretty generic, and no one's going to read it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
That's been my take on it. Like, because everyone is like has differing views. Some people use it for everything. It's just like, oh, I need to make a poster. I'll just do AI poster, or I'll just have AI make this video or whatever.
It's very common in like video descriptions online.
Yeah, video descriptions. Everyone just has AI do it, and I'm like, I'm not against AI, but I also don't think you should just have a prompt to just complete your work for you. You should put the effort into it, and
you should at least be able to.
Yeah, like you said, use it as a tool to like, I need it to put some keywords in this description. I don't know what keywords I should. Let me find some keywords through AI and then find a way to fuse it into whatever. So
sure. Yeah, I mean, look, it goes to what are we, and what do you want to do, and how far removed from the actual work of life in your brain, or do we want to get before we are just we're serving it more than it's serving us.
Yeah. And I'm seeing like AI, like even something simple like my wife showed me like a dog like playing with the baby, and she thought it was real, and I was like, it's AI, but it looks so real now, and you're like, I don't even know how to distinguish like.
Oh, man.
Did you know it was AI when you looked at it? Or?
I knew it was AI, but that's because I had been tricked by some other stuff. And I think like the dog like bit the baby and was like swinging it around or something.
Oh.
And I was like,
Okay, yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. Or another one was like a bear like jumping on a trampoline. That was like a popular one. And
I've seen that one.
Yeah, and so it's like it's very hard to tell now like what even is like reality anymore.
I mean, it goes to, before we even got to this AI moment, it still goes to the need for media literacy, which I think we talked about, which I would talk about before, which is, especially in this moment, in these moments of frames, right? We have to, I think, train our children and certainly train ourselves how to be skeptical of any piece of media or writing that we see.
Yeah.
Just because it was published by a newspaper of record or an NGO that has a great name does not mean that we don't need to apply our own skepticism, our own brains to all these things. And so anything we see online, be it written, be it post, be it video, even more so now, we have to have the initial barrier of, okay, that's a thing. Now, if I'm actually going to take that in and integrate it into my understanding of the world, I got to check it in some way, shape, or form and apply some skepticism. And that's exhausting and hard, especially given how much media is thrown at us all day long. We can't check everything, but it's the need for that filter has never been greater. And we certainly have not figured out how to do that at scale.
Sure.
You don't want social media companies censoring things and deciding for you we saw that during the pandemic, what's good and what's misinformation or disinformation based on their take on it, or their kind of like sledgehammer rather than scalpel view of it. But at the same time, you don't want endless, Chinese or Russian, deep fakes, into hitting our phones and convincing us of something completely untrue because it serves their needs of weakening our republic.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have an answer for any of that yet.
Yeah.
These are clearly what.
You said you have kids?
I got 2.
Okay. How old are they?
8 and 11, almost 12.
All right.
Crazy.
So given the things we've been talking about, as a parent, how does that influence how you raise your kids? Because they're gonna have to navigate this fundamentally different world.
Yeah, I mean, as organically or just as through as analog as humanly possible. I mean, they don't have phones. They will not have phones. They won't have smartphones. I can imagine when they're 16 or something, a flip phone. I don't see any reason why at the moment they need a smartphone.
Sure.
They have had, since they were born, very little screen time, all told. They're allowed to watch, movies sometimes or certain shows that we choose where it's exhausting. I mean, we're really on top of everything they see. They're both big readers, and we even we take a look at the books they read. We rely on a lot of classics, where it's an incredible vigilance that drives you insane. You don't want to. It's ways our parents didn't have to be this on top of us and weren't. But stuff that is warping to them is so ubiquitous. I don't know, maybe you guys approach it differently, but I feel like it's just so ubiquitous, especially if you just give them the keys to an internet browser and go,
knock yourself
search
out.
around whatever. Right. There's no fucking way I'm letting them find a fraction of what's out there.
Yeah.
So everything, when they do have computers for school. They use them more than I wish they did, but there are blocks on everything. They can't just go whatever. It's exhausting. I wish I didn't have to do this, but I do. I'm convinced, and they're normal kids.
Yeah, I was kind of in that position myself where I was like, I guess sheltered. I just didn't have like a smartphone or anything when like all my friends did and stuff, and I don't know. I may be a little retarded, but I turned out all right.
Right? I mean, you don't want to sound. You sound like if your friends really like you, they'll call you. Like you sound ridiculous, but at the same time, right?
Yeah.
I'll hear like friends who have older kids, and the kids will be like, "Oh my God, it'll be social suicide. They'll never get invited everywhere." I'm like, I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Yeah.
Like, if someone
that
wants
is.
to, it's not like they live under a rock. It's not like they can't reach them. If there's something going on, they'll call them. They'll call at the house, whatever it is. But they'll have friends, and they do have friends and social lives, and they'll be, I think, happier and richer for it.
Yeah.
If somebody likes you, usually that starts in person.
Yeah.
So.
And when you're 8 and 12, what are you gonna go on Instagram?
Right.
For? Like, just go play outside. Go like throw a ball or some shit. Like, what do you need to go on Twitter and
They don't need to, but there's infinite games and cartoons and nonsense.
Sure.
That they just get sucked into.
Yeah.
It is so sad. I see kids, a bunch of them sitting around a table together, and they're all like this. With the phone. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I don't, call me old, but I think that's clearly not a human way for us to be interacting, and it directly relates to, how we're living now. Like TikTok is just not a place to fucking live.
Yeah, none of us, the three of us don't have kids, but I do have friends that have kids, and they've all said that when they just have a no-screen rule, like not even TV for their kid, like little kids, toddlers, the behavior is completely different, right? They can actually listen to you if they haven't been watching TV for a couple of days, but as soon as they turn it on, they just can't be.
Look, it's a drug. I mean, the kids go to the dentist. My kids love going to the dentist because over there, we didn't have this, but over their chairs now, there's a screen and they can watch, I don't know, a cartoon, whatever it is, right? And it's basically an anesthetic, right? If you're watching that television, it's in your brain, it shuts off all kinds of stuff, and people can do all kinds of whatever they're doing into your teeth, and you almost don't care. That's how powerful that is.
That's crazy.
So to have kids living on watching television or on their screens for hours a day, clearly, you don't want your kids anesthetized for like that for hours a day.
Yeah.
So certainly when they were toddlers, there was no television whatsoever, and there was a certain point when they were a little older where we said, okay, we'll watch this movie, or here's, whatever, this
SpongeBob.
show I remember from when I was a kid that was really great, so here's an episode of it, or whatever. Mosh and the Bears is great, it's actually a Russian cartoon that's so funny, so here's a 7-minute episode of Mosh and the Bear you can watch.
Some good Soviet propaganda.
Soviet propaganda.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta love the irony of us doing an interview on a screen talking about the detriments of screens to an audience on screen.
Obviously,
Well, we're hoping people pay attention to it.
It's an amazing. All this is an amazing tool. It's terrific.
Yeah.
But they're tools, and
Right.
When they take over, when you go into anything too much. Look, I like a beer. If you have too many of them, you're a mess, right? Then you're an alcoholic. So don't be an alcoholic with any of this stuff. use it accordingly and then get back to your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the real message here. And it's, we've definitely, I think you've mentioned it. It's crazy how much it really is a drug and is best conceptualized in that way.
Yeah, the attention like equates to dopamine.
Right. Like for me, actually, I recently got a new phone and kept the old one, and I have no social media on my day-to-day phone. And the old one, I have it like tucked away so that I can really only access it, in limited times. And it's amazing, just like watching myself. I keep picking this up to be distracted, and then I'm like, there's nothing. So there's nothing there. And I'm just checking my email again, 5 minutes later, and I've already been so programmed to like pick it up for stimulation. And so, like, creating that separation where it's not that accessible and just, like, watching myself always come back to it.
Isn't
it's
it amazing how
wild.
we've trained ourselves to do this? Like, we just keep...
Yeah,
Yeah.
150 times a day.
Muscle memory.
Right. But now it's... This instinct is hardwired in now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting trying to roll that back for me personally. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like, for kids growing up.
I mean,
with
I don't use social media very much. I certainly don't put anything on it that's relevant, that's about my life. I might talk about a movie on it, something I'm doing, or letting people know, hey, there's some event or something. I don't use it. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
My kids don't have accounts, and again, won't until I can't stop them, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. At some point, you gotta let them do their own thing.
Yeah. When so you were emailing me a couple weeks ago. You were at the Cellar. You still go there regularly, and yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's a great community that has been open to me being there. I love to watch what they're talking about. Go hang out at the bar, then go downstairs when someone goes up for their 20 minutes and hear what they're talking about and watch the thing develop. No, it's a fantastic community. I'm very fortunate and grateful to be able to be an interloper.
Who are some people that people should be on the lookout for that you've seen?
Who are your top names right now?
I mean, I
Up-and-comers.
love. It's funny. I mean, they're not necessarily like the up and coming, but like Ryan Hamilton is one of the funniest guys around. He's got a special on Netflix from a couple years ago called Happy Face. He just shot another one. It's produced by Nate Bargatze, and so he's a guy. He's from Idaho, but he's in New York, and it's a fantastic perspective. And he opens for Seinfeld when Seinfeld travels.
Okay.
I mean, he's hysterical. So keep an eye out for his next Netflix special coming out in the next whatever months it'll be. He's fantastic. Who else? There are a lot of guys, but I mean, again, Jim Norton's touring now, and his stuff is great. He's an old school guy, but
Yeah.
if there were so many people there who, they didn't hit it like a Louis C.K. or a Rock or whatever,
Right.
but they're brilliant and talented, and they're around. So yeah. Jay Jordan's another guy who was whatever. He got stuck when we couldn't shoot him. He was writing on Jon Stewart's show at the time.
Okay.
But he's very good. I think he just shot something as well, a new special. I know he just shot a new special as well. But yeah, so many guys. I mean, I think just check the Comedy Cellar website. They stream. I think they stream some of the stuff live actually.
Oh, do
Oh,
they?
really?
I didn't know that.
I believe they do. Check it. I think there are some things they do stream live.
Oh yeah. I've definitely seen people like doing sets there live, but I don't know if it's the Cellar doing it or the comedians. But
I mean, they take
it's
a
out
lot
there.
of the clips, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they do, right? So they do something, they put it up, and it's this new way to get it on Instagram. It's a new way to get audience.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Check
kind of
it out.
nice.
I could be wrong, but I believe that they do some things that they stream. It might be a certain night or something.
Okay.
Very cool. Have you two been to the Cellar?
I've
I've
been to
not.
the Cellar
I've been there a
3
couple
years-
times.
Yeah, I've been there a few years ago.
Mhm.
I think to see Mark Norman or something. I don't remember.
Ooh, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
I've been there a few times. I saw Adriana Lapalucci
Oh,
or something.
in a-
Right,
yeah.
but it was before she really kind of figured it out. So it was interesting seeing her because, I mean, her thing, she's extremely dark.
Yeah.
And, that's tough waters to navigate. So watching her several years ago, it was like, whoa, ugh, right. And then now seeing her later, once she was like, okay, this is how you do it.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I just love that.
Right. It
I
was.
love watching them develop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or even just going back and watching their early voice is great.
Yeah.
How they found it.
She's
Been fantastic.
Yeah.
Who else?
And they're
has
opening a
seen
new venue too around the corner.
Oh,
Cellar is
okay.
it'll be a big new venue.
Oh wow.
it? Okay, very cool. Yeah, I saw a bunch of interesting. I saw Pete Davidson, Todd Berry, Artie Lane.
Todd's there a lot.
Yeah. Who else?
Because I used to live
In New York a couple years ago,
Huh.
from 2015 to 2018. I was there.
I forget about that.
Yeah. I wasn't doing
Much comedy down there.
but it was a good experience. You know, New York is just a whole different beast. It's just
Say different
it's beautiful and crazy and a lot of energy and just
People everywhere.
yeah, I love it.
It is that.
Did you?
Grow up in New York? Where are you from originally?
Yeah, I grew up on 96th Street.
So you're a New Yorker, born and bred.
Born and bred, like 5 generations or something.
Oh shit.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, it's funny how there's I'm sure you've seen that old Time magazine article where from the view of New York City, New York is bigger than the whole rest of the country, and it's
That
like,
is how we see it.
yeah, and it's funny even just being there like 2 or 3 years, like, oh, I get it, like that's how I felt, like, oh, this is the world, and there's
Right.
just like farms out there.
Yeah.
And yet, it's so myopic, right? I mean, you can, once you get out, obviously, growing up there, you feel like it's the center of the universe, and then you grow up and you realize no one else gives a shit, about New York and whatever your thing is, right? You can come from, the most, what is in ways the most diverse and cosmopolitan, whatever place in the world, and yet be totally myopic. Like kind of what we were saying about, COVID, is that, you really don't see the rest of the country and have any understanding unless you decide, hey, I'm going to go drive across country or, make a point of listening and interacting or whatever. You don't see how other people live, and you can't possibly conceive that, someone who lives in rural Michigan has no relationship whatsoever to your idea of going downstairs to hit the bodega to pick up a bottle of whatever. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
The whole rhythm, the way of thinking, your frames of reference, no relationship. And, equally valid, certainly to, where they live. And so, and that's also, I think it's less true if you live in a rural area because through media, television, you see much more of what, you can't really understand it, but you see much more of what an urban environment, like New York is like. But it just, to the overall point of being much more open to each other and not judging each other, because we really don't understand at all how, we're living, because we live in very different ways around this country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah,
We're all in agreement here. Good to know.
one of the biggest things is just trying to understand each other. And it may be impossible because, everyone's so complex, but there's lines of thinking you can kind of understand.
And want to understand.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where we are now, right? We're just so exhausted that we have no desire to keep our ears open. We just have
Right.
these images that we project, and we assume these massive numbers of assumptions about each other. And we're tired, and it's much easier to go with that and just hunker down with the tribe and project nastiness onto other people rather than find it interesting. Like, my dad talks to, God forbid you end up on an airplane next to him. He wants to know your life. He is so interested in you. And he's the greatest guy ever. And, he's a great conversationalist. And, but he's really interested in understanding, and he doesn't judge any of it. Most people are just not like that. But if we, I travel good chunks of the world. I'm so interested in how other people live and hearing their stories and, just appreciating that stuff and maybe appreciating my life more as a result. But, if we can, rather than being scared of this person who's living differently than I am, find them interesting and be open to it, we'd be a lot happier ourselves.
Certainly.
Yeah, it's you don't even necessarily have to travel that far to like see a different culture. Like in Michigan, you drive 2 hours north of Detroit and you're in a farm.
Go 10 minutes outside of New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different.
Absolutely. So for anybody thinking about coming to New York, where can you get the best slice of pizza? Everybody wants to know.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, there are... I don't have a favorite place anymore, and a lot of it is kind of crummy. Well, just go to your hole-in-the-wall place and try them. I don't have a destination. But, there are all the classics they'll write about.
Yeah.
There's the, brick oven, thin crust. There's just your slice joint. Look online. I don't have a favorite anymore. There's a place that's called Posto. That's a thin crust brick oven pizza I like a lot. It's down on 2nd Avenue in 18th or something like that. But that's not a slice joint.
No, my favorite is Prince Street.
At Prince?
Yeah. You ever had Prince Street Pizza in Soho?
Joe's Pizza was always very good. I haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
Downtown. I assume it's still good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they recently opened a Joe's in Ann Arbor. I think it's like one of the first ones they opened like out of New York.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I wasn't embraced by, because I know Detroit pizza is a very different thing.
Detroit pizza,
yeah.
it's very different. But
Have you been here and had it?
have you had Detroit pizza?
No, I've never been to Detroit.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
to Ann Arbor, but that's my Michigan experience.
Okay.
What brought you to Ann Arbor?
My brother went to UMich, so.
Oh,
okay.
very nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, yeah. If you're ever back there, you can go to Joe's and you can feel like
Feel
you're.
at home.
There's also
Go to a different
no.
state.
There's also a pizza shop in New York or in Ann Arbor called New York Pizza Department or something. It's called NYPD, but it's like New York Pizza something, and it's good. I mean, I get it almost every time I've gone to Ann Arbor, so it's pretty good. But they have slices. I went with Malachi once. That was nice. Yeah.
Shouts out Malachi.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We're a bit past an hour. Do you have any kind of closing things you'd like to promote or talk about?
I think it's just, go talk to people.
Yeah.
Right? And be open to them and be aware of, I try and be very aware of my reactions to people, and if they say something I disagree with or that, even kind of tweaks me, I try not to get my back, react in a way that, will turn them off. Without, I may not go along with what they're saying. I might take what they're saying without judgment so much. And, I don't know if I see that, if you, I think even Jim Norton makes his point, if you say, hey, I kind of see it this way, most people will go, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
And then you can, ask questions, tell me more. That's a great thing to say. Just tell me more. And you let them unload, and then they feel heard. If someone doesn't feel heard, then, they know you're not listening to them and you get turned off. So,
Yeah.
I'd say, look, the point of the film, it's doing a college tour now. It's on campuses, and so, I'm hoping more administrations and professors take it up and show it to their students. Jestersandsfools.com is the website to reach out. But I think, I hope, humor is something that we need a lot more of to just keep us open to
Yeah.
each other and keep our minds open.
For sure. If you do a screening in Detroit, let us know and we'll come.
I will.
Yeah.
I hope so. I would love to take it.
Yeah, the Independent Comedy Club has a projector system and everything. So
Yeah, we'll get it all set up for
You
you.
want to play it at the Independent?
yeah, why not?
Wherever we can make it happen.
All right.
Yeah, groups take it up. I mean, you can totally. If there's some group with a mailing list of people that they want to go show it, we can talk about it.
Sure.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Rob, thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Comedy and
Boiz number one.
Yeah.
Out of the number one Let's Detroit Comedy Podcast, a big deal.
Appreciate you being you.
Back on the Boiz. Back on the Boiz.